Hello world, hello John. It seems we're making semi-regular book recommendation vlogs now. I can dig it. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with reading. I love being engrossed into the world of a great story. I love the idea of just sitting back and letting a well-written novel paint beautiful pictures in my mind. Some of the best stories that I've had the pleasure of experiencing have come from reading books. On the other side of the coin, I have a really hard time starting a new book. No matter how much I try, getting through the first, say, 25% of a book is always a lot of work. On the rare occasion I will get hooked early, but if it's a story I have never been introduced to, I will more often just start and then stop and then maybe pick it up again later just to see if I can finally get through it. Currently that's been happening with Mistborn, but I'll talk about that more later when I can get through it. I'm here to talk about a different series, one in which I actually had the same issue with. I just couldn't get into it. My first attempt was a road trip to a friend's house who lives 3 hours south of me. I asked for book recommendations and Amanda recommended a book series she's been recommending to me for a long time. She was convinced that I would end up loving this series very much. She wasn't wrong, but on that first go around I did fall prey to the lost interest. It wasn't until much later that I was able to pick it back up and make my way through it and finally get hooked on the story, and then I just didn't stop. I picked up the next one and then the next one, and I just kept reading and reading until I reached all 13 books that were released at that time. To some, it's fairly obvious which series that was. The series was The Dresden Files. And as you might have guessed, I've connected with that world and Harry Dresden himself very closely. I mean, have you seen my last name? The biggest hurdle anyone's gonna have to come across is trying to get through the first couple of books. But you gotta know that Jim Butcher wrote the first Dresden Files book as a college assignment. He was still new to the game and his inexperience was very well seen in that first book. But despite being the weakest of all the books, it's still a great story. However, once book 3 rolls in and you get beyond that, consuming the rest of the story is something you do with great anticipation. I mean, Jim found his legs writing fairly quickly overall. As of the time of this recording, Jim's released 15 books in the main story arc and a collection of 11 different short stories. It's really hard to pick my favorites of the bunch, but it's actually really easy for me to come up with my least favorite ones. I say least favorite, but I don't mean to say that I didn't enjoy the books, I just liked them less than I did others. Stormfront is easily one of my least favorites, but that's generally because of how young he was and the fact that it was his first book. My second favorite actually comes in much later than that. Ghost Story. Despite being an encapsulating story and a fun read, it just didn't fit into where I saw the story. Jim hasn't released a new installment of the story since March 2015. This has been by far the longest period in between books to date. For us Die-Hard fans, that's actually really difficult to be patient for. However, the more I branch out into what I read, the more I find that that particular aspect is not that uncommon. Game of Thrones, Name of the Wind. Excuse me. There are folks that have a specific reading order to get you hooked into the series before jumping back to 1 so it doesn't turn you off. One I've heard is starting with book 3 or 4 and then jumping back to 1 and then reading the rest through. My recommendation? Just read them in order. Watch as both the story evolves and Jim Butcher's ability to tell it. Follow it from the first case to the fantastically hidden world, but also the forefront of life. Follow the snarky, wisecracking private detective who's Chicago's only wizard in the Yellow Pages. Follow him as he walks in all the directions the story takes him. Follow him as he's brought to near death. Follow him as he finds all the creative ways to win. Go in knowing that the first book isn't the strongest, with the commitment to make it through the first handful. It won't take long for you to see the greatness in this series. My life was made better by welcoming this world into my mind. Give it a shot. Plus, hey, the first book came out 17 years ago, so finding a cheap copy is going to be really easy. Heck, check the video's description for a link to Amazon to buy it on Kindle. Oh, and for anybody who's a fan of James Marsters, he narrates the audiobooks, and he is the perfect Dresden. That's all I got for my first book-related vlog, John. Go, sleep. We'll talk soon.